Power creep is a big topic in gacha games. In games like Honkai Star Rail, where combat is the main focus, spending your Stellar Jades on characters that will remain strong for a long time is always going to be a good idea. If you're someone who cares about who you spend your Stellar Jades on and want to pull for characters that will stay relevant for a long time, Sparkle is probably one of those characters. If you're also unsure whether to pull for Sparkle due to concerns of power creep, hopefully this video will be helpful to you. Sparkle's been out for a few days now, and I think it's safe to say she probably won't be Powercrept, at least not for a very long time. Here are the reasons why. Starting off with her skill. So when she uses a skill on an ally, she advances their action by 50%, as well as providing them crit damage for one turn. 45% flat, plus 24% of her own crit damage. So if you assume Sparkle has 200% crit damage, for example, that's 93% crit damage for an ally, which is pretty crazy. Let's talk about the advanced action part first. This is half of Bronya's, which is 100%. Bronya allows an ally to take action immediately, while Sparkle doesn't. While this might sound like Sparkle's skill is a lot worse, it's actually not as bad as it looks. For example, if the character that's about to be buffed already has 50% on their action advanced before their next turn, Sparkle's skill lets them go immediately. If Bronya were to use her skill on the same ally, they would waste the other 50% of the action advance. Sparkle's skill doesn't have this problem in this particular case. Now there is one downside to Sparkle's skill, which is the fact that crit damage doesn't work great on DOT focused characters, since DOT can't crit, but the action advance is still very helpful. Even in some situations where you can't utilize the crit damage, a 50% action advance can be very helpful for allowing an ally to take action as soon as possible. Now this doesn't mean Sparkle's skill is worse than Bronya's or vice versa. While their skills are similar, both character skills have different uses, so it really just depends on the situation. One last thing I want to talk about for her skill is her A4 Trace, which makes the crit damage boost last until the start of the ally's next turn. Characters like Clara and Dr. Ratio can perform multiple follow-up attacks while still retaining the crit damage buff before their turn starts. This pretty much gives a huge advantage for any follow-up attackers when they're buffed by Sparkle's skill. Sparkle's skill action advance is very powerful. So knowing this, let's talk about the two optimal ways to play Sparkle, explained by pridewin.gg. So the first is Hyperspeed Sparkle. TLDR if you don't want to read all that, you basically just want 160 speed on her, and then you don't have to invest on speed boots for your carry. This playstyle is very powerful in game modes like Memory of Chaos, where cycles and advancing action are very important. Another important thing about this particular playstyle is that you can also swap to offensive stats on your damage dealer's boots instead of speed, so pretty much you don't have to invest in speed on your carry. The next is -1 speed Sparkle or -2 speed, which is essentially similar to how you would want to play Bronya. You basically want Sparkle to be 1 speed less than your carry, or aka your damage dealer, so she could basically advance her action forward. This playstyle is fine, but it requires very high investment because you want Sparkle to be 1 speed less, which can be kind of annoying to speed tune sometimes, but if you could get it going, it's definitely a viable way to play her. This playstyle is very good if you want to give your carry more opportunities to deal damage to the enemy, so if things like weakness breaking them is important, then this playstyle is very good. How you want to play Sparkle depends on your team setup and what you're looking to do, and both are very good in certain circumstances. Regardless of which version you play, being able to advance your character's action forward is always going to be powerful in a turn-based game. This is also why Bronya has always been regarded as powerful, as pretty much letting your allies take action more often is always going to be very good. Oh, and also the whole Sparkle versus Bronya arguments, you can just use them together. So if you have both of them, you can just toss away the whole Sparkle versus Bronya argument. Just turn them into lovers. Moving on, let's talk about ultimates. So Sparkle's ult generates 4 skill points for the team right away, and then improves her talent's bonus damage even more. In my opinion, her ultimate is extremely broken for multiple reasons. 1. The only character that has allowed you to gain more skill points up until now has been Hanya. Being able to generate skill points for your team is always going to be powerful, especially on characters that love to eat skill points. Future characters that will eat skill points away will always be good with Sparkle, so if you have Sparkle, or you're considering getting Sparkle, just be on the lookout for any characters that like to eat a lot of skill points. 2. Sparkle acts as a battery for your team in a sense. This is because skills generate more energy when your character uses them when compared to basic attacks. For pretty much all characters, basic attacks generate 20 energy, while skills generate 30. This might not seem like a lot, but 10 extra energy can make the difference between being able to cast your ultimate or not. Also, with extra skill points, some support characters can spam skills more often, either generating more energy for themselves to spam their ult, or providing some kind of utility. Some examples are Fushuan using her skill to prevent crowd control on your team, or Huohua spamming her skill so she can ult faster and buff your team more often. Also, one last thing about Sparkle's ult is that it only costs 110 energy. This is actually quite cheap for an ult, especially considering how powerful it is. Being able to generate skill points will always be useful in any team you use. And finally, Sparkle has 2 other traces that are extremely good, and she is completely SP positive as well. Thanks to her A2 trace, in cases where you don't need her skill, she generates the same amount of energy with her basic attack as if she used her skill. Both of them restore 30 energy. Her A6 trace increases all allies' attack by 15% just for having her on the field. 15% attack might not seem like a lot, but it's actually quite a big buff for absolutely free. If you also use her with more quantum, the attack buff becomes larger, making her extremely strong in mono-quantum teams. And finally, her technique also allows you to enter combat with 3 additional skill points, which pretty much makes your team pop off in the beginning of fights. Sparkle is essentially the epitome of you will never run out of skill points. That's the gist of why I believe Sparkle will probably never be Powercrept in Honkai Star Rail. She provides pretty much everything you'd want out of a Harmony character, with almost no flaws to her kit. She provides damage, she provides attack, she provides crit damage, she provides action advance forward, pretty much everything a Harmony character can provide. Even if Hoyoverse introduces mechanics or monsters that indirectly make her worse, her kit has so much to offer and powerful aspects to it that I pretty much believe that it would be almost impossible to power creep her. Unless they make some kind of character that's just broken beyond comprehension. But maybe we'll see in the future if that happens. But anyway, hopefully this information has been helpful to you. If you're looking to pull Sparkle, I would recommend doing it if you're looking for a really good Harmony character. Otherwise, if you don't really like her playstyle, then it's completely okay, but I honestly believe she probably won't be Powercrept, if ever. So, let's see if I'm correct in the future. Let's see if this ages well or not. I'll see you later.